before I
Right.
went. So I looked
Right.
at all. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll ask you about, life before, during, and after, and we'll just go 15, 20 minutes or so. Just
Cool.
let it flow.
All right.
Cool. Hey guys, Robin
You
Reed here
want to set?
again
Oh,
to
sorry.
check out to
Sorry. I'm
introduce
sorry.
you to a wonderful person who's really excited to be talking, Mr. Ryan Huey. Ryan is a young 40-something criminal law attorney out of the hip and amazing Austin, Texas. And he also went to Rythmia. We knew each other from Austin before we had gone to Rythmia. And so, Ryan, welcome to this. Really excited to be meeting with you here.
You too, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing. Now, tell us, when did you go?
I went for my 39th birthday, which was July. It was the July 25th week of last year.
Okay.
So, been about a year and 3-4 months.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. And what I'm always excited to ask people is what was life like before, and was there any type of catalyst moment or something you were dealing with? What I specifically want to know is, for those of us that kind of hear the call to experiment and practice with plant-based medicine, especially ayahuasca. What was life? What was life like before that? And like, how did you come to that decision?
Yeah, it came across my awareness, my radar. Someone forwarded me the famous National Geographic article on ayahuasca. I came across that in 2009, and that planted the first seed. And put it on the bucket list and didn't think much about it. And life has I cannot complain about life. But I found that I had just kind of finished my chapter at bachelorhood, freshly married. That's the reason we know each other, is because of Ellie, and had a new baby, and had this. If I've always had a sense of restlessness, it was getting louder and louder, and things were looking really good on the outside, how I wanted them to look, like how I intended them to look. But on the inside, I was having a pretty big internal struggle. And part of that was the mounting responsibility that comes with being a dad and a professional in my community, as well as my calling to want to spread my music across the world. And that kind of doubled when I held baby Riley for the first time, and was very clear that it was very important to let her to be the example of never giving up on a dream, and was starting to see the battle of the push-pull between societal responsibilities and family responsibilities, and not losing yourself in the process. And being a seeker myself, I knew that much, that I wasn't supposed to cave on what was important to me. And I see a lot of my friends and colleagues that hit this kind of midlife crisis 40 time, when you either stand up for you, or you fold and become a different person. And that different person, the results of that end up being rehab, divorce, and all those painful things that I didn't want to experience. And the opportunity came to look into Rythmia, and that was really the only option for me, because I am a professional. I do have a license. I'm not willing to risk that. And having the world's first medically licensed plant medicine facility gave me an out. And that's just step one. Step two is the safety and all those things and kind of what are you getting into. But step one for me was there's an opportunity to do this legally in a medical setting. And I don't think my wife Ellie would have been on board with supporting me and going had that not been the case.
Yeah, that's a great point. You actually bring up a couple of things. Each of them we could speak to at length about. The midlife crisis, that has been a consistent conversation and topic in the people that I've spoken to. And that, and I know I think that's a poem you're quoting. Either we get to a point in life where we either stand up and become who we are, or we become something completely different. And it sounds very Thoreau, Walt Whitman, kind of right in there, Waldo Emerson.
Yeah.
But many people speak of that turning moment where life was good, or life was great, and they had everything they wanted on the outside, but there was inner turmoil, which was also Jerry's story, the founder, who had this wild and chaotic life, but was headed nowhere.
Man,
And
I love that guy. I love
yeah,
that guy.
incredible story of transformation. You also brought up another point about it being the only licensed plant-based medicine, and that you're a professional. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, not even if you wanted to, you can't just go, bouncing around. That you hold a place in society with licenses to back it up. And I appreciate that. I too am a professional, have licensure, and I live in San Diego, where there's a lot of government people that have clearance, security clearance, and with what is it? With great responsibility comes there's a, yeah, I mean, like you've got these freedoms, but you've got the responsibility in the freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to Rythmia, wife is supportive, you're headed to a professional clinical place. What happens at Rythmia?
First of all, I couldn't believe tears are coming down my face when I was pulling into the resort, because I just didn't actually think it was possible that it was actually happening, because I had just lived traveled in my mind so many times for that to be a possibility, and it was there. Um, when you ask kind of what happened, would you like to know about the amazing way I was greeted and how I was welcomed, or
Yeah.
more?
What comes to mind when you think of when somebody was to say, "How was the experience you were there?" Maybe it's a touch on the staff or the food. Obviously, we have to talk about ceremony and what that was like. It's not painting that picture correctly. That's not a bunch of people, with a sippy cup and a straw. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very, delicate process of a little bit. So we'd love to hear from you about that.
Yes. The grounds were amazing. I think it's best to start because I was one of these people that might be watching this, and so I want to make. I think it's you can hear all the facts are out there. You can hear all the stories. It's repeated lots of different ways, but it's the feeling I feel like that it's important. And me is being really excited to do it and just couldn't believe I had the opportunity. When I saw the Rythmia sign at the gate, my stomach dropped a little bit, and for all of a sudden it just became real. And I realized that I came here because I wanted to try to heal what was ailing me. And I realized that as soon as I hit the grounds, that I had some work to do, and that this wasn't like going into a candy store and getting your favorite candy and walking back out. So I love the way, man, they met us with fresh dried fruit, coconut water, got us settled into our rooms. Everyone's really kind of awkwardly kind of mingling while everyone kind of filters in throughout that day. And then Jerry walks in, and all of a sudden everyone has kind of a common point of attention that we all kind of know and have researched. And it just broke, immediately broke into conversation and a connection between between everyone. And then all the modalities. I was a big fan of, I have a hot tub at home, so I was a hot tub guy. Volcanic mud bath is awesome. Food is phenomenal. And there's lots of recordings out there like that. And I don't want to repeat the same thing because I feel like this is important for whoever's trying to hear this. So can we get right down to ceremony, or would you like to talk more? How many?
No, come on. I mean, I think people know pretty quickly it's a 5-star resort and it's got all the amenities of a very nice place, which is important.
To say it's not a scam. They're not going to get duped. It really exists,
right?
And that's
it's worth the money. But let's talk about the ceremony, of course.
Yeah, what would you like to know?
What was the process like for you, in ceremony? How did that, tell us about some of the changes that you experienced. How did you greet the medicine? Was it a relationship? How did you heal from it? What kind of surgeries did you get from taking part of it all?
Okay, so we could spend 6 hours talking about this and might cover most of it. Okay.
You got about 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for that qualification. I'm going to start with my first interaction with the medicine and my last, and we'll see how much I'm going to fill in the gaps. The medicine met me in a really perfect way. When you first drink, they usually play some really nice nature sounds, turn the lights down low, and kind of let you just kind of let it get into your system. I had a flash of bright light and some sacred geometry colors, and then I got the case of the giggles, worse than I've ever had in my entire life. And if you knew me, Robin, I've had a lot of good laughing spells. And when I say I got a case of the giggles, I got a really big case of the giggles. So much that the shaman had to come over and I'm so sorry, I don't know the proper word, but he brought his big palm leaf thing, and was kind of trying to swash the giggles out of me. And there are many people around me that are also purging a very traumatic event and crying. And I caught myself being triggered that the more I heard like someone else like crying, the more I started laughing, which feels very disrespectful in a place that I don't know anything about, in a ceremony I don't know anything about, and was trying to do my best to make sure that everyone had their respectful space. Mm-hmm. And the shaman came over and he said, hey man, try to keep it down, like kind of, starting to bug some people around you, like respectful silence. And made me laugh harder. And I was like, I am trying to keep it down. You should see what it'd be like if it was actually like really trying to laugh, right? So I went outside. I said, can I go outside and laugh? And I went outside and laughed for about a good 20 minutes. My abs were sore for the rest of the weekend. And then I went back in there and I went to sleep. And that was day one.
Wow.
The next morning, I'm very sheepishly sitting at the end of the breakfast table. And like, no one still really knows anybody that well. And because this is just like day two. And the shaman is sitting over there eating silently as well. And a couple more people sit down. Now we've got about half the crew there. And someone's like, who is that guy laughing over there, right? And I just like kind of put my head down the end of the table. And they're like, that guy down there. And I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I could not control it. Like, I've never had anything that I haven't been able to contain like that. And I'm so sorry if I messed up your night, and kind of like found my way, like just awkwardly leaving and getting away from them. And my intention for that night was to show me who I had become. And what my takeaway that morning from that breakfast walk, from breakfast back to my room, was, well, great, we confirmed it. I'm the class clown, right? Like I always got sent in the hallway as a kid. My mom is a teacher, so I got in double trouble. And I've always just I'm the court jester. That's who I've become, and was really beating myself up about that. And the shaman walked past me and he said, why are you so upset with yourself? And I explained what I just explained to you. And he said, you need to go take a nap in a hammock and rethink your process. And I said, okay, what am I missing? And he said, the medicine was not showing you that you were a class clown. It was showing you your power. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I've been doing ceremonies for a really, really long time. And I've never, ever had anyone have the power to take over the entire room. And at one point, when I came over to try to get you to simmer down, you had the whole room laughing.
Wow.
And so all of a sudden, that was my first shift. Like, my perception and my belief of who I was different than what I really was. That gave me just enough information to be like, whatever is keeping me from seeing that, I want that gone. Because I think that may be part of my restlessness, right? Fast forward to the last experience I had with it. I was, other than that laughing spell, I had 2 nadas. So my third night, Brandy Powell, Jerry's wife, it was ladies' night. It was Wednesday night. So all the female shamans are the one that serves. She looked me right in the eye when I walked in, and she said, you need to drink more medicine. And she knew that I hadn't had my breakthrough yet, other than this like hint that I had from this conversation with the shaman. And so I drank as much as I've always heard, like, drink as much medicine as you can get your hands on in a ceremony. Can't go wrong. Can't overdose. Can't do any of that stuff. So I took everything she kept giving me. And that is when I understood. I had an experience where I understood everything that you hear about. Every story you've heard about ayahuasca, I experienced in that one night.
Wow.
And so if someone's watching this for the first time, like your first video, switch back and look at some of Robin's other videos, because all that and more. And I walked away with the fact that I am just as I thought before I knew, that I am a spark of God, just like everyone else is. He's in our heart. Whatever you want to call it, is in our heart, and we're an aspect of that. And I felt like I got to travel with that spark back to its source, and understood from that perspective all the way back down. I also experienced about 12 different, somewhere between 15, 21 different of my past life deaths. I understand the transition of death. I understand how it works. And I also understood how to commune with nature. And I understood the divine intelligence behind nature. And I can give lots of examples of that. But I think if I'm trying to sum it up in 6 minutes, I don't know how much time we left, that's a good place. The best way to maybe put that into a Ryan experience at Rythmia would be, I noticed that while I was on this journey, and I'm awake now, I'm not in a dream, I'm awake, and I noticed that I'm having physical healings. When I throw up, you can ask the medicine what you're throwing up. I've never been bothered by throwing up, and I loved it even more whenever I could ask it what I was throwing up. And one time it told me my football back injury. And as I was heaving on my hands and knees, it popped my lower back and my tailbone back out. So physical things happen too. I walked up to the shaman and I said, how do I make my mind stop? And it's like, age-old question. People spend their whole lives trying to figure that one out. And I said, no, hang on. Let me rephrase. How do I make my mind stop right now in this ceremony, in this journey? And I said, I feel like I am there's an observer part of me that is taking notes of me having this experience, and it's getting in the way for letting me see even further, because it's kind of holding me back. And he was like, oh, yeah, just go talk to some trees. I was like, I should have thought of that. Never thought to. He's like, no, I'm serious. Do you want me to introduce you to my favorite trees? I said, yeah, sure. He took my hand, helped me down the steps. We walked out and into the garden, and there was these two trees that were split, they're coming out of the same root. And he said, stood me in front of them, and he said, it's my two favorite trees. Great. And he said, ask them their names. And I'm still kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on making my mind stop by asking this tree kind of thing, even on the medicine. And I was like, hi, tree, what's your name, right? And instantly, I get an answer in my head, quicker than I could put a question mark on the end of saying the question, I got the answer. That made me realize that was something different than my mind. That is the divine intelligence. When you start getting answers quicker than you can think of the question, or before you get the question out of your mind, that is that divine intelligence talking to you. So this tree tells me its name, and the shaman is so sharp that it knows that I've connected to this tree, and that this tree, we just had that exchange. And he knew that I knew it was for real, and that just wasn't in my head. And he was like, all right, you're good. You have a good time. We're going to go make sure everyone's doing okay inside. And walked off. And he turned around and he was like, don't forget to ask them your question. I was like, oh, yeah. Well, how do I make my mind stop, Mr. Tree? And the tree said, quit bastardizing your gifts. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, that observer that you're trying to make stop, that's your songwriter.
And you're a musician.
Mm-hmm.
You're a musician.
And it is trying to keep up. We agree with you. You're the reason you want to get rid of it is true. But not by fighting it. Just tell it to quiet down. Or if you can't do that, ask something to babysit it. Ask someone to babysit it. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to make an agreement with this tree to let my observer, my songwriter, chill out for a little bit and take a much needed break of keeping lots of notes over 39 years. Yeah. And then I had my real big breakthrough. And that ended up the next morning at breakfast, Brandy Powell came up to me and she said, Ryan Huey, she's like, if I was allowed to bring smartphones to ceremony, I would have the perfect picture for our website. There's this huge tree right whenever you walk through the front part of Rythmia and start heading down to the cafeteria. If you notice, it's on your left, it's lit up, it's huge, it's big, and it's got green veins coming through it. So anyone who's there, look for that. That's my tree. And she said, I looked out the window and you were shirtless with your arms wrapped around that tree as hard as you could. And she said, and the tree was lit up. It was nighttime. It was beautiful. And she said, and I said, oh my gosh, I forgot about that tree. I'd completely forgotten that experience. I said, I felt that tree's heartbeat. And she was like, yeah, totally, right? And I said, no, like I felt it. And she said, did that tree give you any advice? And I said, yeah. I asked it if it had any advice, because now that I'm talking to trees, I got lots of advice all around here.
Right. There's a lot of trees in Austin, Texas.
Yeah. It said, um, I said, what advice do you have? And it said, one thing about us trees, especially us big trees, we're really sure about being a tree.
Mm,
Like, you have to be
yeah.
really
You need to be
solid.
sure about you and who
You got to
you
be really
are.
solid on being a tree if you're going to be a good tree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as I'm holding this tree and feeling its like its soft heartbeat and its hard outer shell, and then knowing wood, as I've always known wood, it's pretty hard and a good structure, make houses out of it and stuff. Um, they, I realized that at that same time, in its firmness and its strength and in its solidarity, uh, that it also flexes in the wind,
Mm-hmm.
and its branches move and its leaves move. And I've never looked at a tree since. And when I think
Yeah.
about, I bring that point up about having this experience with wood, like all our houses are built with wood, unless you're living in one of the new modern ones with, aluminum beams or something. That intelligence is all around us. It's just being able to have the awareness that it can actually do that.
I love it.
And I find that everywhere.
If I may interject, it's almost childlike in listening to you, right? It's like this man having an experience back when he was a child, before all the judgmental mind came in. And I also wanted to share that the experience you have, uniquely your own, for the scientific minds listening to this. Rythmia is very clear that you can get the same healing through long-term therapy, hypnosis, even I think they said there was one other thing. Was it meditation, hypnosis, long-term therapy. All three of those being a ex, somewhat of an experiential thing, but the fastest was plant-based medicine and ayahuasca, because it was more experiential, right? It took you into the feelings that you are having, and would clear those, kind of like parting of the Red Sea, so that you could see the past the feelings and see what happened. That splitting moment where something happened and we became something completely unique or something different, which you alluded to earlier, about how we either look at that and we become who we are, or that person dies and we look upon its grave and we have to live the rest of our lives with someone else. And so we call that a lot of different things, whether it be awakening experiences, or guys our age having midlife crises.
Yeah, I use that label very loosely. I've never,
Yeah.
I've never admitted to myself that I was having a midlife crisis, because I think I was just headed that way, and I wanted to catch it, because I saw it, because I've seen many people before me do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I 100% agree with you. Actually, I know that what you said to be true about those different modalities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready to, once I found there was an avenue to do it quicker, like why waste time? And even if I'm wrong, and it doesn't work, I can always go back and spend all that time doing that. Let's go give it a shot, right? So it's for those people that are going to take the plunge, for sure. And then I also know that the reason I understand those modalities work was because of ayahuasca. Before that, it would have been a belief. Like, I would have kind of hoped it would. So what you're saying is, what another takeaway that I wrote down in my journal was that I've been searching for the answers outside of myself for up to those 39 years, till I finally had that experience at Rythmia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every different way possible. That started out in church, in my religion, and just growing up in a small Lutheran boy in Bernie, Texas, all the way to whether that's consulting a psychic or doing a past life regression hypnosis or any of that stuff. And, really digging in and having the resources to do that over 10 years, right? I start realizing that I'm getting somewhere and I'm chipping away at each one of these, but I leave disappointed that they didn't fix the whole thing, right? And this ayahuasca is there's a difference between belief and knowing, and there's a difference between knowing and understanding. And that's what you're talking about on the experiential part, is a belief is just a lie you tell yourself about things that you don't know, right? So you know a lot about what's in your daily life, but you don't know really much about how, like, an astronaut flies is the space shuttle in space, right? And so notice me like leaning in on you, sorry. But and in the middle of the word belief is lie. There's a good thing. And so then whenever you actually do know something, the difference between belief and knowing is you don't have to argue it. You know, right? And then you can stand there. People who believe argue all the time. And so the next graduation after knowing is understanding, and that's once you have the experience of the knowing. And once you understand that you are your own shaman, you're your own medicine, that is when life really starts taking off and having fun. And that actually happens way more. You start having fun on the inside way more than it starts looking like you're having fun on the outside. Because I will also say that my professional friends who have endeavored to Rythmia or done ayahuasca all go through a pretty big metamorphosis that Ryan 2.0 version would have been flipping out over. But Ryan 3.0 knows and trusts that there is a divine orchestration in the whole thing. And I say that because we almost canceled this because I just got back 2 hours from putting my best friend, Captain Harley, my 11-year-old boxer who has a bed by my desk and goes everywhere with me every day. And you're like, hey, man, whatever you need, we need to reschedule. And I said, no, it's because of Rythmia and because of the medicine that I am not losing my shit right now and can sit here, and nothing would make me feel like I'm honoring my fellow troubadour who's on the other side now by telling people that the medicine works, Rythmia works.
That's amazing.
And because I understand the process of death and what I went through in my journey at Rythmia, I was only sad that I was gonna not have my best friend around me, not sad about where he was going or what he was doing. Because I asked about Harley in my ceremony at Rythmia, like, why is this dog different than everybody else? And the medicine showed me that he was actually an aspect of my own soul. Like, I was the sun and he was my moon. And that he came and waited until I turned 30 because he knew the 30 to 40 was going to be the pressure cooker for the pimple to pop. Right?
It's so true.
And so I know that he left our world, our reality here today, because the baton from old Ryan to new Ryan was passed, and he could go. His job was done. He carried me through my bachelorhood to my amazing family, and I'm forever honored for his service for that. So what I mean by he was my moon to my sun was that he held aspects of me as an aspect of my soul. He held those parts of me that I hadn't yet come to understand or embrace or really experience. He held unconditional love until I figured it out. I didn't figure unconditional love out until the medicine. He held present moment for me until I came to understand that not only is the present moment the most valuable moment, but the only moment.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I
And
love it. You're blowing us up. You're blowing us up. This is greatness.
so thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Such a powerful story. And I know Harley and have spent time with you guys. And yeah, you're absolutely right. There's just a uniqueness uh, to you, Ryan, and to Harley as well. So, man, thanks for coming on here and sharing your story. I think there's a lot of hurting people out there that are searching for help. They're seeking answers, and you're right. They're not finding it outside themselves. The pillars of society have maybe let them down, or maybe they've had too much expectations on the pillars of religion or politics or education or even family. And we come back to a place where there's no rescue, right? Nobody's coming for you. You've got to step up, step in, and rescue yourself, and really become that person. And we all have things we got to get past for that to happen. So I think your story will help a lot of people.
well, and I'm an advocate for the medicine. I'm an advocate for Rythmia. I'm an advocate for you. And I'm an advocate for all my clients who come in here who the medicine told me was my greatest teacher. And when a lawyer shows up to a client with the energetic expression of like, what are you here to teach me? I am your servant. Really amazing things happen even in our kind of archaic justice system, And I also want to put it out there that if anyone has any questions, contact me. Like, I will answer anything. I will be your support, because if you've got a notion to do it, do it. Don't talk yourself out of it, and know that it is the hardest work you've ever done, but it's the biggest reward. And that is a knowing truth that I understand. It's not a belief. And the last thing I wanted to say was that if you can't get to Rythmia or anytime soon, and that's got to be a process, seek someone who has consumed the medicine, because you will get a vibration from them. You will get, and I'm not talking all new agey like vibration stuff. I'm talking like everyone said, like, I get a good vibe from here or I don't, right? Just by going to have lunch and talking to them about it, the medicine works through them to you, and it will help you get there quicker. So surround yourself with medicine drinkers. Want to have coffee with me? Let's go, right? Because that's how you're going to get there.
That's a good point. That's a real good point. I like that. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out to one of us who've done it. And I mean, we're all ready to share our experiences. So Ryan, thanks for coming on and sharing your experience with everybody. Ben, you're a beacon of light, my brother.
As are you, my friend. I love you, and go keep kicking ass in the world.
I love it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.